paint the picture for you real quick. We've had 2 games so far, and the losing team has now played the same map both times this week. And we're hoping the Beastcoast don't end up in because SSG are already on a roll. They just knocked off the undefeated OXG yesterday, and Beastcoast are looking for a bit of a lifeline as they try to cling on to that advantage that they used to have 4th to 5th place or so in the NAL standings. Anderson, Chick, D'Apollonio with you on the desk. Gentlemen, what are we thinking for matchup number 3?
Well, matchup 3 is going to be Spacestation and Beastcoast. SSG, a huge statement yesterday, beating out Auction Esports, a team that a lot of people were saying were the best team in the North American League. SSG set the record straight by beating them 7-5 on Cafe. It's going to be a tall task for Beastcoast to take them down.
Yeah, definitely going to be a tall task, especially with Beastcoast struggling just a little bit. Some of their fraggers a little bit quieter than we've come to expect in that XSET game just about like 20 hours ago, you know?
What do we think about this Beastcoast lineup? Initially, because we've only seen them play 5 games so far, we were looking at how the new roster was going to form. We know about SSG. We've got a lot of points we can talk about them, but just very quick initial impression about what we think of this Beastcoast team through 5 games.
They're very young. Obviously, we knew that coming into the thing that they would be kind of young. They're certainly aggressive. Sweater likes to be a little bit out there on the roam, but I don't know. It does seem like they've kind of railed it back in a little bit these last couple of play days, so I'm interested to see if that continues.
Sweater likes to be out there on the roam. That was the understatement of the century. You didn't have to say it so succinctly. Connor, anything to add?
Yeah, you want it succinctly, I would just say pleasant surprise. 2 words. I think that this roster could potentially have failed, but they've been a breath of fresh air, and they've been really refreshing to watch with how hard they're working and overall how well they're working as a team.
That was more than just the 2 words, but that's an answer that we are going to accept.
I had my full answer and then my just.
Dive into more when we talk about Beastcoast, but for right now, let's talk about the mountain that they've got to climb. In Space Station Gaming, a lot of people think that this team now is a shoo-in to head to the major, given their record so far, but they are deadlocked with Astralis right now for that 2nd to 3rd placement, only above them in spite of having the same number of points because of a higher round differential, because that's the way that tiebreakers work these days. So still in 2nd place as of right now, could potentially catch up to OXG in the very near future, but this team is looking way, way better than they were. I mean, or are they keeping pace with what they were doing back in stage 3?
Well, it's actually an interesting point, right? Because throughout the last year, we saw them do very strong, like domestically in the NAL when we were playing best of ones, and then even in group stages, they'd always do very well at the majors and at SI, and then they'd get to the bracket, and that would always be where the struggles come. Whether that's because of the pressure, or because of the best of 3s, or because of the better teams, there's a lot of factors that go into it. But certainly right now, SSG showing their usual form, coming in through these regular season best of ones and dominating the league up until this point.
Yeah, in their first couple of games, maybe were potentially an easier side. But that second game, that XSET victory just keeps on aging. It's like a fine wine. It gets better and better every single play day because they made that team look silly.
I mean, that was also before XSET really got their feet underneath them. They understood what to finish on their attack, so to speak. You're not wrong.
Maybe they learned from SSG.
You really need to, you're happy you have that one out of the way, but Beastcoast theoretically could present the same kind of problem. Do you think that this SSG team is going to be able to read into the kind of stuff that Beastcoast could present in this matchup?
I think probably.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I mean, listen, SSG have been so good using that attacker repick. I think their takes have been very, very strong this stage so far. Beastcoast, if they're going to go for these wacky setups, if they're going to pull out some of the creative stuff that we know that they have in their back pocket, they've pulled out some really cool setups, I would say, over the last couple of play days. I think SSG is going to be able to identify that in the prep phase, choose their operators, and break it down pretty succinctly throughout the round.
I do, from that point, I remember Luke's tweet about the way in which SSG are able to completely shift up whatever takes they were going for. I think the example he was bringing up was back when they played TSM on Oregon. There were times where they'd put Merc up in small tower, twice, and both times he died at around the same point in the round, but the difference was the second time they attacked it, they switched up, brought a Monty setup, they completely switched up every single operator they were bringing, got Merc out at the same time frame without dropping nearly as many operators, and there seems to be that exact same chemistry going overall in attack, and it feels like they've really dialed in on how to use it, even if it's not being fully abused yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and we also, I forget who we were talking with, I think it was Yeti, that it's also map dependent. It's insanely map dependent, and with the maps that SSG have been going to, I mean, we've already seen them go to Bank twice. That's a map that you can have very different stylistic takes. You can either, once again, bring the Monty, you can have some fun stuff, you have a Ying executor, you can send somebody on knock flying through the garage. It really kind of opens the door to that creativity that we kind of come to know and love from SSG.
What are we thinking about Skies, by the way? Obviously, Playday number 5 MVP for his performance against OXG. Little bit of a rage moment because of a tech delay, left mid-game, came back and did this.
Yeah, 13 and 6, 75 costs. Guys had a fantastic day yesterday playing in their matchup against Oxygen. He's a player that has recently moved from that hard support, that hard breach role, onto a little bit more of an aggressive position in the flank watch. He's been fantastic, I think, in that role moving forward for SSG. I talked to him a bit about it. He likes how he's able to kind of use this position to get a little bit more aggressive, be a little bit more of a playmaker. You see the fantastic positioning in Train. You see the operators that he likes to play beautiful on gridlock. Something he actually talked about in our interview on stream was how, as a flank watch, he likes to play a wide variety of operators. He doesn't feel pigeonholed into a nomad, which is the most common operator for that role. He will play anything, whatever the situation requires, and that kind of goes back to the 6 pick that we're seeing time and time again, or that attacker repick that SSG have used so wonderfully.
Yeah, and it almost comes down to a point that flank watch might not necessarily be a position. It's almost more of a kind of responsibility that can shift here and there. But if you just kind of categorize Skies as a secondary support player who does like to focus on the flanks a little bit more, once again, you open up those doors. You open up the realm of possibilities, all those different operators and the creativity to shine.
So that's the obstacle that Beastcoast themselves have to get over, which, considering the role that SSG have been on, knocking off the only undefeated team left in the league, their accomplishments prior, the way they thrive in best of ones, the way they really tailor the map picks to every single individual situation, Beastcoast have a very tall task in front of them, especially given Skies. Obviously, we're still focusing on him because that was a stellar performance yesterday. But for this Beastcoast team, who equates? Who lines up? Beastcoast are out here trying to say, why not us? We're over here doing what we can to surprise. They are already beating a lot of people's expectations, but what's the next step this roster has to get to?
I mean, I think the big person that you're going to line up as their key player this season has to be Surf. And I would say the most surprising player in the league so far. Surf has been amazing. Coming into this week, he was 48 and 29, 9 and 4 on entry, 1.07 KPR, all of those stats in the top 2 ahead of this week of play. And although he was negative in Challenger League, the couple of times he got brought in, it's really, you've got to give it to the support staff on Beastcoast and for the teams, or for the players on Beastcoast, to have identified that talent within Surf and said, I don't care if this guy's going negative in CL, let's bring him up. He's going to shine here in the NAL, and that's exactly what he's done.
Yeah, and it's just always really interesting to watch Surf operate because, as weird as it may sound, he's one of the most intelligent fraggers you can possibly watch.
Totally.
Sometimes it looks like he makes dumb decisions, but there's weird stuff with the timings that when you really take a closer look, it's very smart decisions. It's very calculated risks. And if he can find some of the holes in the side of Spacestation, he can all of a sudden just explode.
Yeah, I think the brain of Beastcoast doesn't get enough credit. I know Troy on an interview a couple weeks back called them meatheads, but listen, I think this team actually has a lot of really good ideas. And sometimes the executes aren't always there, right? I think back to yesterday's game where they were attacking on Bank and, they were attacking into open area. They had a great rotate where they moved Drip from sort of the square push over to Printer. It was a fantastic idea because you need that pinch. But then when he's jumping in the window, he spends 5 seconds trying to shoot the Alagai clone right beneath him and he gets killed because of it. So it's solid ideas, sometimes poor execution coming in from Beastcoast. And I want to give a lot of credit to their support staff, Mark, Rams, and Crux, for being able to implement a lot of those ideas and really help the boys out.
To me, it feels like they're also a very good team that's adept at utilizing repick, almost as in both squads are very capable of using it to a certain extent. I'm looking at Slash getting that glass 2 to 3K to clutch out a post plant against the Sonics. Granted, it's Oregon, it's against the Sonics. We already know the tale of that tape. But right now, I feel as though this is a team. This isn't 5 individuals kind of getting thrown into one system or us thinking that there might be enough of a personality clash for this team to not work out. So far, there does appear to be cohesion, and it's more surprising than I thought at the beginning of the stage. Yeah,
and it's just scary when 5 people that are all incredibly mechanically gifted buy into a singular philosophy that's failed a couple of times, but now when everybody's firing through, it just works. And it's hard to explain why, but it just does.
Yeah, and it does feel like as well that they're slowing down a little bit more, which I love to see from them. If they want to pull that back and maybe find a little bit more of opportunities in the nuance of that mid-round, I'm excited to see that.
All right, so stage has been set, but where exactly are we going in this one? Any opinions, initial thoughts about, are we going to an SSG strong map? Or Beastcoast going to ban those ones out? Are we going to go to one that's kind of neutral for both squads? What are we thinking?
Honestly, I feel like with the depth and breadth of the SSG map pool, I feel like they can just manipulate this and really strong arm Beastcoast into an uncomfortable position. And that's kind of always been the case for SSG. Much credit to their support staff. They know how to attack a ban phase, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
You're never going to beat those guys. And when you can just take down maps like Oregon, very comfortable map for Beastcoast, as well as Skyscraper, you know, the new map that's kind of scary on the side of Beastcoast. They already showed strength over towards Border. They probably have a Skyscraper as well.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the strong maps from both of these squads. I think Bank, a very strong one from SSG. We saw the first week. Border, one that I was going to mention for Beastcoast being a very strong map for them. Another one that they won back in the first week of play. Our final 3 maps end up being Villa, Bank, and Theme. Again, I don't think you want to allow SSG to play onto Bank. They're so good there. Theme Park is a map that none of these teams have played before. You look at Villa as well. This is a map that we've seen one play from Beastcoast. They brought DZ to overtime. SSG don't want the same fate, so they're going to ban out the map. And then Beastcoast. Theme Park, neither of these teams have played at all. Bank, SSG dominated on the first week of play, won it twice back-to-back, and Beastcoast clearly struggling on it the other day. They're going to run it back, though. An interesting decision. SSG likely expecting the Theme Park, but it doesn't happen anyways. For Space Station, they avoided Bank right up until SI, but they brought it out for 2 games at the 6th Invitational. They also brought it for the first couple of games of the NAL. They beat Xset, they beat Mirage, dropping just 5 rounds in the 2 games combined.
So here's the overall question. Are Space Station right now looking at Bank and going, okay, I guess we got a freebie, or is there a reason to be concerned about Beastcoast on this map? Because they did just lose it yesterday, but were there enough bright spots to think that against a team like Space Station, they do have a chance here?
They do have a chance because there were still so many of those rounds against Xset that were so incredibly close.
Yeah.
It came down to a matter of inches, and maybe if Slash got a kill here or there, it would be a completely different result. However, for Space Station, those final 2 maps that we got down to, Theme Park and Bank, those are the 2 most intricate maps in the entire pool right now, and that really is buying into the philosophy for Space Station that they might think Beastcoast are a little bit of meatheads and they want to try to throw them some curveballs.
Well, let's see if our own resident meatheads have the same idea in mind. Blue, Stokes, welcome back. What are we thinking about this game?
Well, I think it's going to be a pretty close one at the end of the day here. I say that because, again, we've been seeing some great performances coming out of the Beastcoast roster, mainly from an individual basis, but I have to agree with you guys talking about the map here. Things are going to look a little bleak in that respect, considering what happened in yesterday's match, so feeling a little bit more Space Station-y right now for this game, just judging it off of that factor at least. What about you, Stokes?
Straight up making up new adjectives, brother. What's going on?
Yeah, going crazy. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, John. I think this one's going to the moon. Space Station gaming all the way. Beastcoast, I mean, they might have something in store for us, but I don't expect much.
Look, man, to a different subsection of the internet, to the moon has a completely different connotation. And I don't think we've heard it for like what? I mean, the whole Wall Street Bets thing was what, like a whole year ago at this
Like
point?
January
It feels like ancient
last
history.
year, yeah.
They have the best advice, man. I mean, you should just invest with them. You should see what happens, Jacob.
Do not listen to Reddit on anything. not investing, not
even R6 subreddit.
Please.
You can't listen to Reddit about a
Wall Street Bets
singular
lost
thing.
to a fish.
Well, yeah, I was saying, literally, they lost to a fish. I know there are some people out there who will get that reference. Thank you,
shout out
gentlemen.
Michael Reeves,
We'll get
for
back to
sure.
you in just a second because you're casting this game and you look very hot doing it. However, for this matchup, Jesse, I'm of 2 minds on this, but both of them kind of point in the same direction ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, I think Beastcoast are coming into this game thinking it's a map that both teams are good at, right? Beastcoast clearly looking at that last Playday thinking, well, although we lost it, we had some close rounds, it's still one of our strong suits. That said, they've got a lot to prove against the current, in my opinion, best team in North America on a map we know they're strong on. I'm going to go SSG as well. I think that's the right call.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. The reason why I thought 2 different paths on this is only really due to there being someone in these 3 games that needed to upset somewhere. It was Parabellum had to get OXG. No, that didn't happen. First game, we're looking for an upset. Mirage is going to beat X. That didn't happen. I am one for patterns, but I don't really like it when it works out perfectly with no deviation. So
Okay.
I do like Space Station. I'm going to pick them on this game, but still, could Beastcoast do something? Don't count them out ever.
Yeah, I'm here for the coin, and I already know
does
the
the coin
result
say?
of it. And I think you're going to be very happy when you were talking about upsets for the coin, because the coin did not pick it. The coin went straight for SSG.
Come
and the rest of the
on!
group.
Can you not debate me that way? We brought you in just to be a messenger. You don't
Yes.
have to be tantalizing.
Sam's second game of the day and the second time that he has tied the coin with the same prediction.
True.
And he sighs in the background.
I don't know if you can hear when he sighs that loud, but yeah, no. It's not going well for any of us because the coin has sided with the entire desk because everyone has picked the exact same team for these first 3 games. We'll hope that there might be a bit of a difference for our last 2. It still seems like, at least for these first 3, there is always an underdog, there's always a favorite, and we'll see which one wins after we come back from a very short break. Space Station, Beast Coast, up next. Don't go anywhere.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Ready to start another game here at the NAL, and this is bound to be an interesting one. Drip continuing his run throughout the NAL, trying to prove everyone in it wrong, and that he can indeed keep up his team stuff inside of a pro division. Their challengers on the other side of the coin today is going to be Space Station, who has had quite a run themselves so far inside of Stage 1. Stokes, let's talk a little bit about Space Station's own prowess here inside of the first few weeks of play that we've had.
Well, I think first things first, we have to talk about their matchup against, well, Oxygen yesterday. A 7-5 victory, really not expected, I think, out of anybody when it came to analysts and commentators. Especially from me, I thought Oxygen had it in the bag, but Space Station proving all of us wrong. And I think you can say that about a decent amount of this stage. Yes, they might not be in first, but they're shooting for that high contention and the ability to go to land.
Yeah, definitely seemed like the case there, especially with their ability to take down Oxygen, who had been pretty much undefeated up until yesterday's game. Seems like that's a continuing trend, though, with the way that things nearly transpired in today's game as well. Maybe starting to see some weaknesses show in that team, but of course, we'll talk more about that in the future. The focus today is on SSG, who have continued to tear themselves a new position inside of the NAL and are looking to take number 1 with a potential victory today due to their close proximity to OXG's own record. Keep in mind, of course, you got a lot of other teams following them close behind, and XSET, surprisingly, is one of them as well. So the race to stay in the top 4 is going to continue onward as the stage goes on, as all these teams, of course, are fighting for a position at the major. Space Station, a team that, especially with the run they've had here in the NAL so far, will definitely want one of those 4 positions in order to prove themselves once again on an international stage, as they've been struggling to do so as of their most 2 to 3 international showings over the last year.
Yeah, while we're talking about Space Station, you know we have to talk about Skies, because they went through a role swap before they came into the first stage here. Bosco and Skies switching positions, and Skies is looking so fantastic currently. A 1.30 overall, a KPR of a 1.0 flat, and that's on things like mute and gridlock. So it's extremely impressive for him that he's so pivotal in the position that SSG has allocated him to. I'm excited to see him up against Beastcoast today, especially with Drip and, well, just mostly Beastcoast philosophy around the game at the moment.
Yeah, and Beastcoast has had their own showing of players that have been able to perform quite well inside of Stage 1. The most notable standout, for me at least, has been Surf, the surprise addition for this team, coming straight out of the lower divisions and absolutely kicking some butt inside of the first few games. Faltered a little bit in yesterday's matchup versus XSET, but hopefully going to be able to improve that performance. It was Anthony who was really the shining star of this team yesterday, as much as they could be anyway, as they were only able to claim 3 rounds on the map they played, a map that they're going to be going back to right now in Bank versus Space Station. We saw BC struggling mainly on the defensive side, only able to pick up 1 round for themselves over the course of it, but to be fair, the attacking side wasn't really much better anyway, wasn't really much better either, as they only got 2 rounds there.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of Beastcoast, we got to talk about Surf here. I mean, Surf has time and time again been the player for Beastcoast, but yesterday, really all for naught. Negative on the day, had a .98, could not come over the hill when it came to the 1.0 rating. As you said, that was all for Anthony's doing, and it really just, you know, showed itself inside of the rounds. There was really nothing that Beastcoast could do. It was just time and time again losing some very important gunfights that made it nigh impossible to pick up the round for themselves.
Keep in mind, of course, the veteran, experienced leader that's going to be taking this team into battle, and that's going to be Slashug, sitting just to the left of the player on your screen right now. Slash, a player that you guys at home, if you've been following Siege for any time at all, you should know pretty well by this point, going back quite a bit to the being a former member of the OXG roster, even before that on Reciprocity as well.
Don't forget about Rogue.
Yeah, that was what I was just going to say. He was on the Rogue roster also, so he's been around for quite some time, and it does seem like, I believe we even got them in an interview saying this, that they're looking to try and repeat the success we got out of the Sonics last year by having this one big core experienced player that's been around for eons at this point, with a bunch of young gunners kind of surrounding him that he can direct into battle and hopefully lead to victory. And it's had mixed results so far here on BC.
Yeah, you know, it's always good to have somebody around that has some tenure, and Slashug is always going to be able to provide a million different answers to any questions that you have because he's been doing this for so very long. But you can also say that about a couple of these people. It's just that Slashug has been inside of professional play longer than a lot of them. For instance, Drip has played the game since, I believe, beta, but he just wasn't at that professional echelon for a long period of time. He kind of dipped in, dipped out. It was more of just like a touching of the toes, and that was about it to the water. So, well, now for Beastcoast, they've looked a lot better. And not only that, this is probably the best team that we've seen Drip on.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And they've brought a really impressive performance to the table in multiple of their matches. But this is easily going to be, in my opinion, their toughest challenge yet so far, as we've seen Space Station just show a rock of consistency over the course of Stage 1. In surprising fashion as well, given their run at SI. Things are looking very, very promising for this team as we start to build up towards the next major as well. So Beastcoast is really going to have their mettle tested, especially again when you consider the fact that we brought up earlier where they're just rerunning a map they played yesterday. So Space Station has a whole load of fresh tape on this team if there's not going to be any major changes to the strat book, which I don't expect there to be any with only 24 hours transpiring between the last match.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't expect too much to change, and we saw that from a multitude of teams today that played their map that they played today, yesterday. Not too much changed, and as you said, you only have 24 hours, and past that, you spent the entire day playing professional Siege. It's kind of draining. So not exactly wanting to go home and immediately jump back on a computer and be like, all right, guys, let's grind this out for another 6 hours after we just sat there and had our butts kicked on a previous map.
Now, we do have a slight delay to the start of game, folks. You may have noticed it. We have one of our admins working on the PCs underneath the Space Station desk right now. So bear with us here for just a moment while we continue to work on fixing that as quickly as possible and, of course, start this game. We do want to make sure that every setup is up to par here and that, once again, we are not going to have any of those issues in the game itself so the players can continue on. So your patience in this area is very much appreciated. We'll be starting as soon as we possibly can here, but we will be guiding you through more of our pre-match talk here as that discussion continues on. Another member that we haven't been able to talk too much about on the BC side, you know, we've kind of talked it to death here about Slash, Surf, and Drip, but Sweater is another player that has quite a bit of renown going towards it as well. And we also want to call this out for you guys at home, as I'll change my topic real quick. All the VODs from yesterday are now available. Woo! Go ahead over to the Rainbow Six Esports YouTube channel. It's on the VOD channel specifically, and go ahead and search for those. Feel free to browse all 5 of the matches that we played yesterday, including the one that Beastcoast played on this map they're about to rerun. You can go ahead and open that up while we're waiting for this game to begin, maybe, and skim through it, get a little bit of intel for yourself, and maybe you can have some fresh tape on Beastcoast as they get ready to jump into this rerun themselves.
Yes, indeed. Plenty of good games, plenty of good memes from yesterday as well, so hopefully you guys enjoy. But make sure you guys bounce on over to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe while you're there because all of our VODs are in indeed on that page. So if you're ever lacking, if you ever have to go off and do something important and want to come back, you can always go to the YouTube page to figure out what matches you weren't able to watch today. So we are just moments away from getting in here. Once again, ladies and gents, it's bank for Beastcoast, and we're going back to where they were yesterday, where they're only able to pick up 3 rounds overall. As you said, John, really hoping that they can do something different today up against Space Station Gaming, but it's going to be hard fought. Bank is a map that SSG has been dominant on for years, and yes, I mean years. So this should make for some good fun, but luckily enough, the delay is over, ladies and gentlemen. Space Station Gaming versus Beastcoast on Bank starts now.
Bank is actually ran a piece of history here, if I'm remembering correctly. Bank is like a pretty big part of SSG's run, SI 2020 too. If you want to talk a little bit more about that going back a few years, I do remember quite a few maps being played on Bank specifically at that event. So big piece of it there. Interesting ban though to start us off. It's going to be Knock that gets knocked out by SSG. Beastcoast respond with one that's arguably just as interesting in Zero. We've seen Zero play become pretty much a mainstay on Bank specifically because of where you can place those Argus cams, especially inside of that main lobby because the room's so big it's so hard to spot them out, but in quite a few other areas as well. But the Nook one is more interesting because we've been seeing her used more and more. Once again, inside of this map specifically for that kind of sneaky entry capability, or at least to set up a player for some late round shenanigans. The defensive bans, not too surprising. We got a Mirror and a Maestro. That aligns pretty well with what we have seen in the past here.
Maestro band's very interesting. Well, we'll have to get to it a little bit later on, but this is a potential to look in towards smoke plants. Now, the thing you got to remember is that Warden also exists.
Yep.
So it's kind of a duality of man, if you will, with those positions.
Not only that, but there's like much more delay capability too, where you could like have like a sneaky Goyo canister hiding in a corner now. Obviously you've got the Toxic Babes, which are always going to be there from smoke, but then you have Tachanka as well that can chuck in some of those incendiaries from a distance. So there's a few other factors you have to be aware of now when trying to go for a smoke plant. And because you, the attacker, you get disoriented yourself inside of those just as much as the defenders can have that same thing befall them.
Yeah, pretty difficult to get your bearings when your entire screen is just gray smog.
Yep.
So either way, though, we're finally into the map, and SSG, they're setting us up for an interesting one. Bulletproof here at the front desk, just so they have some info on lobby. They'll get all of the hatches, but this is most definitely going to be extended even up towards the 3rd floor. Bosco has already castle barricaded E2. That's the elevator hallway on the current floor that we're at. They're more than likely going to connect a few other locations around this mid-floor just to make their transitions through the building a little bit easier to where they can actually get ahead of Beastcoast.
Well, let's see here as we've got Beastcoast spawned out and about, and SSG has finished their setup. Bosco throwing in the last of those castle barricades to block off the access point from Blue Stairs going into break room. Breaks that up a little bit, maybe allows for a member of SSG to sneak back out, but SSG's going to be sneaking around a whole lot more places than that. We got Rampy deployed all the way up to the 2nd floor as well. Hatches are reinforced to support the players downstairs, and then even Hot sitting in the corner, a little bit too close for comfort apparently to the action as he takes a few bullets. I'm not even sure if Surf realizes they hit and Surf! Oh no, he like fat fingers his V key or something and misses out on a free kill opportunity.
I am lost for words at the moment. Surf's going to hand over a kill as well, and Rampy's out. He's just going to use the dash and hightail it down main stairs. And now Beastcoast already down a member when Surf most definitely should have had that kill in stock. Very unfortunate for Beastcoast now, and SSG will be allowed to stick to their guns on this roam. Beastcoast still have to clear them out, and they have to do it a man down.
Very, very unfortunate start to the game for Beastcoast here. It's going to be a little bit of a tilter probably for Surf, so hopefully he can rebound from that in a later round. But down for the count for now as SSG excel with the 5v4 advantage. Not even going to give up on their extended game after asserting that advantage either. We're going to see them continue to keep the first floor presence going, and there's good reason behind this. We still have a minute and a half to play with. You don't necessarily want to give all that over to Beastcoast since they still have quite a bit of presence here, and obviously quite a bit of reinforcement and utility supporting this position as well, so they can to some extent afford to sit around here and continue to waste down the time for Beastcoast. SSG has an easy retreat route through the hatch sitting inside of the small office.
This is the best call for Space Station at the current moment. Just continue to dwindle down this timer for Beastcoast and force them into a poor execution. The good news for Space Station as well is that they have supporting angles for the actual site if they do try and just force a plant down in something like server or rather CCTV. It's just never going to happen because of the hatch control that they have. And also Rampy will be able to reassert himself onto the top floor because he is Oryx, the only man that can jump up hatches. Slash will be able to take down Bosco, but they still have a long road ahead of them.
Slash with a good trade there, at least evens things out, but that's really only because Beastcoast hadn't made any big moves themselves up until this point. Sweater, though, keeps Beastcoast on a good track, and now the plant's going down for drip inside of the site. What is this? The round's been turned on its heels all of a sudden. Anthony and Slash both picking up kills. Fultz will kill 2 with the just thrown Nitro Cell out into the open. He's a little late to stop the plant, unfortunately. Would have been an amazing clutch if so, but now this post plant is so rough for Fultz to play into. Gets the intel on Slash above him, but can no longer lock him down, and finally, the cutoff from Sweater is established on the back end, and Beast Coast take the first round.
I mean, Beast Coast, Best Coast. That was honestly insane that they were able to pull that out of the hat. Especially for the engagement we had with Hot and Cold on main. He was just simply waiting to see when a Beast Coast member would try and take control of the area, but he still loses the gunfight. Beast Coast get every avenue open in seconds to actually get onto site. Space Station's entire roam game is actually just picked to pieces at the end of the day, and it all just comes down to Fultz. I mean, yes, he's able to initially make a play, but he didn't prevent the plant from going down, and that was the biggest piece there. If that Nitro Cell gets out a little bit earlier, Fultz has a really good chance to win that round because now the offense has to push him, but just was not available for him at the time. And now Space Station Gaming down 1 round.
So an unfortunate turn of events for SSG, all things considered, after we had a really weird start to the round for Beast Coast with Surf shenanigans. Thankfully, the rest of the team for Beast Coast was able to make up for that. I think seeing mainly Slash contribute to that, but Sweater also having a good run also. Both players picking up 2 kills over the course of that round. We are actually going to get a nice little repick as well here over towards an Amaru from Slash. And this will be interesting to see. This has become more and more of a common tactic because in the past, before attacker repick, the only time you would see her use is in these like really niche 6-pick scenarios, but they would usually get right into pretty far in advance. It's a lot easier to sneak her in now with the repick mechanics. So we're starting to see her played more and more.
Super interesting. The Lion coming in as well. We're used to seeing this now. It's almost expected at this point when it comes to attacker repick, especially on a map like Bank. But as you said, the Amaru is not something we exactly see too often. And I also want to notate this. He's playing SMG 11 shotgun. He does not have the G8. So it could be a pretty interesting round depending on how Slash is able to get into the site or towards some of these congested areas, because it's practically one shot and he wins the fight automatically. So we'll have to see what they could potentially do. But as of right now, it looks to be a pretty interesting clear here from Beastcoast. They'll start down in the garage. It's Sweater and Anthony looking for main stairs right now. The Sweater slowly creeps up. They could find themselves a rampy here inside of E2. Slash is going to hop up through the hatch and just begin planting inside of site. This is so unbelievably smart. They have all of the cutoffs. I don't know if Fultz knows where this plant's going down either. He's dead as well. Nitro Cell out. He can't even get the player. He dropped back down the hatch. Beast Coast with the biggest brain Amaru plant that we've seen on Bank.
Beautiful stuff from Beast Coast, and it's going to work nearly flawlessly. 1 or 2 exchanges are found in the post plant, but it's far too long gone, and there's going to be an immediate call for a timeout from SSG after they drop that round. They need to figure out what the heck just happened, as these 2 rounds have been suddenly lost. That was not the expectation they had with the way that these rounds have been played out.
Well, we found out why he had a shotgun and an SMG-11. It's because he's planting literally right next to Small Office. What a round from Beast Coast, and the strategies from these guys. Feisty for sure.
Excellent stuff. Now we get to see what else Beast Coast has cooking potentially, as we are going to go into that pause for Space Station. They're going to take a moment, like and clearly the one leading this pause. He's got a lot to say about what's been going wrong. If the team's potentially been extending out too much, not focusing on the site, and that's how Beast Coast has been able to abuse these situations in order to pick up 2 rounds for themselves. Only 2 rounds, though, have been claimed, so plenty of chances for SSG to rebound, and we're going to find out if they can do so in just a few seconds here. About to load into our 3rd site, and it's looking like it's going to be an upstairs hold here, where things will get a little bit trickier for Beast Coast to bring out any surprises. This site is pretty well written in terms of how the attackers need to proceed for getting on point.
Well, now that we're back into it, let's see if Space Station potentially has an answer for Beast Coast's, well, kind of unorthodox strategy that we don't get to see too often. I believe the last successful Amaru plant that was at least in similar circumstances happened to be on Consulate, which is a map that isn't even in the pool anymore, and it was done by BDS, where they shot up through the piano hatch and planted inside of Cubby. So pretty interesting stuff, to say the least. But now for SSG, they've abandoned all hope on the bottom floor sites, and they've immediately shot up to the top level to see if they can successfully defend CEO.
few repicks coming in, mainly just Drip changing up his operator choice, and we saw an emphasis initially, of course, onto bringing the IQ because they were expecting the Valkyrie play to be pretty important here. Less so now that they've gone upstairs, apparently. So Slash is going to switch over towards the Sledge, and Surf will actually bring in the Thatcher because that's been left out of the ban pool here, so they can just bring your kind of traditional hard breach combo, and they're going to do that, but they note, of course, they did switch Drip over to the Habana, so that's going to be a bit of a longer fuse. The good news is, of course, there's no active mitigation that's been brought by SSG, so they're not going to have to worry about that mini-game playing around the wall here.
Yeah, and we've had an insane amount of Thatcher bans this stage, currently at a 70% ban rate, one of the higher ones that we're used to seeing, even for Thatcher's sake. But either way, though, 40 seconds in here now. Not too much happening across the board as of yet, but definitely have the potential for this powder keg to go off at a moment's notice. Beastcoast, as of right now, trying to find some extra info as to what the setup currently is for SSG. They're going to have the deployable shield here inside of the stock hallway. This is a traditional setup now for the top floor that we've seen time and time again since SI this last time around. So now, as the first line charge will go out, not too much going on. Beastcoast don't want to get too aggressive yet, just more of a call sign of, hey, we are here, and we are ready for this execute whenever it comes.
Needs to happen sooner rather than later here. Fultz continuing to sit back, waiting for this potential action to explode upon him. He's not going to get that so much just yet. We are seeing, of course, Beastcoast work. You can hear those Hibana pellets finally exploding, so that's more than likely going to be the double wall leading into sight, giving them access there, and I believe that is indeed the case. The right one being breached out already by Beastcoast. Still half the round to go, though, so plenty more time to play that. The first EE1D charge, actually, excuse me, the second EE1D charge comes out there from Beastcoast as well. Not going to give them too much to play on, but Houghton might have an opportunity himself, as we're going to see some soft pings go in. The Nitro from down below. Sweater didn't even hear it, apparently, as it flies high over his head, and Hot and Cold pops it to take him out and get the first kill of the round.
Death from above for Spacestation Gaming as they'll find that first pick. And now Beastcoast, a little worse for wear, but they're not out of this gunfight just yet. Surf will take control of stock. He's got to worry about Fultz around the main stairs, but do they have info on this? They're going to lose Drip past that moment, and that's going to be their hard breach now gone. They have no other addition to this, and as well past that, they only have 2 drones to actually allocate to this. With only 45 seconds remaining, this is starting to look like a lot of face checking for Beastcoast.
Slash is waiting for an opportunity now to swing it over here towards Jay. He's going to be able to knock out the castle barricade. That opens up the angle. 2 players sit on the other end of it, though, and that'll be problematic for him and the rest of BC as they try to clear this out. The double-edged sword of swinging open that castle barricade is revealed. Surf as well with a big, important push here, and he succeeds in it, knocking down Fultz. Tries to pre-fire the banana player rotating, but is not going to be able to get that. Fultz, important to note, of course, not fully dead just yet. They will need to repeat that, but shouldn't be too much of an issue to finish him off. Look at this angle from Houghton, though, between him and Rampy. They shut down 2 additional players, but Surf also finally catches Fultz and is able to deny Houghton from going any further with this. The problem being, he's the only one left standing with 1 additional trade from the SSG side of things. They are finally on the board at a 1-2 scoreline.
Very, very well done. And I like the change up from Spacestation to go to the top floor here because it gives Beastcoast less room to work. They're all stuck around square, really couldn't get stock until SSG practically gave it to them. And then past that, the initial pick really slowed things down for Beastcoast. They had no opportunity to try and re-drone things and get some extra intel to assist them with that execute. Spacestation Gaming just too far ahead inside of round 3. And now they have to, unfortunately enough for them, go back to the basement and try this yet again.
So for Beastcoast, things are still looking promising indeed as they will turn to another basement attack, but SSG seems to have caught on to things quite quickly as of that third site hold upstairs. So now it's time to see on the repeats if SSG is going to maintain just as much strength or if Beastcoast's slow and measured approach to these executes is going to pan out for them once again also. A few more repicks going to come in, but nothing really to write home about. Anthony as well, an operator that we generally wouldn't expect to see, so it's not too surprising he's going to switch over to a Zoph, and actually a little bit of a change up there for Drip, as initially he was just changing his operator to a different hard breach, but he's actually going to go fully over towards a Buck for this one in order to open up those top-down angles a bit more quickly.
We also got to remember that Buck does have secondary hard breach now as well, so he's kind of a pseudo hard breacher in a way, but the big thing here is that there's no, throwable hard breach that they have or anything that you can do from range like Habana or Ace, and that's going to lock up the top floor reinforcement panels for the hallway for E3. Over towards the west side for Rampy. That's usually an angle that you'll see the offense trying to abuse as soon as they possibly can because, well, it makes it super difficult to try and get out of the top floor. But unfortunately enough for Beastcoast, they will not have access in any sense of the term. But now for Spacestation, it's back to this extended hold, and hopefully things go right this time.
Anthony Anthony holding a hard position right now. Bosco trying to do the same from inside of open area, but he's going to get caught here, more than likely by Surf, who's going to roll in to finish him off. Drip simply just finishes off Bosco, helping out his teammate a little bit as they want to proceed according to plan here. So that up nice and quick, and Rampy, of course, going to make a bit of noise upstairs. That will be heard, especially as he opens up these top-down angles. But at the same time, it's going to be a little hard to take him out when you see how much support he has, hot and cold. Also watching the main stairs position, there was a lot of cutoffs established upstairs from the guys on SSG right now, so Beastcoast will have to mine that, and more than likely will have to clear it out to some extent.
Oh man, John, there is so many ways this can go wrong for Beastcoast. First things first, the info game has to be pristine to know what's going on upstairs, and luckily enough, Sweater's found a hole inside of Tellers. He'll take down Fultz, but they still have to worry about the verticality. Yes, they may have cleaned out the mid-floor, but Hot and Cold is supporting Rampy on that angle that we saw him create earlier. And this is going to allow him to play over the top of the CCTV hatch, and that's one of the most important hatches to try and get your plant down inside of that area. So now, worse for wear at the moment. They still have a couple of opportunities here, at least for SSG's sake. Able to get some damage off onto Anthony as Hot and Cold continuing to delay this time. What is Beast Coast's answer?
Beastcoast having a lot of time being drained now because of this upstairs hold. It's looking like they're going to try to just bypass it and go directly down to the basement, choosing to deal with the descent of those players at some later point. That's going to be very, very dangerous. They're basically putting themselves in the middle of a sandwich if they go for that, and it seems SSG has already realized this. Rampy now starting to rotate back down to the first floor here. They want to close this thing shut before Beastcoast even try to open it on the site. 45 seconds left, though, so Beastcoast do need to start speeding things up, but they may not be given the opportunity as Rampy cuts one of them off. Surf the first to go down here as the upstairs players begin their tournament.
Well, Beast Coast have a top square player. It's going to be Slash with the oversight here. Drip as well as Sweater down low begin the plant. Rampy, he has a position here, but I don't believe he has the cutoff.
Oh, he does.
Indeed, Drip. He's not going to be able to go to that space anymore. He still has secondary hard breach. I don't believe that the other panel's reinforced, though when it's not, he'll be able to skeleton key that up and start the plant yet again here. What's the call for Space Station?
Hot and got it.
Cold gets one. Rampy now has case control as he drops back down. Anthony's got some damage dealt to him. This timer, it continues to dwindle. Sweater's able to get one. They have to fight everybody inside a red hall. Somebody has to get the case. Sweater will. Slash has the cover. Hot and Cold now inside of the 1 versus 2. He beats Slash, and he gets Sweater. Space Station Gaming secure the round.
Your Stage 3 MVP, tearing it apart in the 1v2 clutch. SSG bring it back in one of the most brutal team fights we've seen all stage yet. Excellent stuff coming in from them, and they shut it down to be able to tie it up once again at a 2-2 scoreline. SSG are back in it quickly after Beast Coast's surprising start with surprising strategies as well. Here's going to be the problem for Beast Coast. Yeah, that execute with the Amaru play, it works out fine for the first attempt on open area, but there's no way they're going to try it 2 times in a row here. So what's the new strategy?
Lycan called the timeout, and he was like, all right, enough of these kiddie games. I'm done. We're taking it to Beast Coast. And they have ever since, especially with that top floor strategy. Did you guys see the synergy between Rampy and Hot and Cold? The conversation that you have to have going the way that you bounce back and forth off of each other on a roam game like that, it is paramount to your success on that. So, I mean, for SSG, so very well done. And again, showing us just how dynamic this team can be.
Some great stuff from SSG, continuing to show their strength, renewed strength, you could say, at the beginning of Stage 1 for our 2022 season. Meanwhile, for Beast Coast, like I said, some interesting stuff being brought to the table, but it seems to have been read into. So what is the new plan here? What's the consistent strategy they can rely on in order to push them forward and allow them to pick up a few more rounds here? If they can make a 3-3, this is certainly a palatable second half for them to try and close out. 4-2 would be even better. But let's see, of course, how exactly this is all going to transpire as they are out on the map now and starting to make their entries, looking like upstairs towards the roof or possibly the CEO rappels, where we'll see them move in through first with a few other members trying to get access to the lobbies. You can see Sweater going on that rappel right now.
It's going to be an open area defense. Rampy's positioning, not questionable, but definitely dangerous, at least when he was stepped up in the actual hallway. At this moment, he's got some cover, but you're really risking yourself, especially with all of these reinforcements that they're lacking on this top floor. This isn't exactly what we've been seeing from a lot of teams with Bank on their open areas recently. This is more default than it is anything. They're not trying to show too much of Bank, apparently, up against Beast Coast. So, not going to have some active droning by Fultz. It's the beauty of the Yokais. Will be able to assist Ramp, and he's just going to fall back. It's a beautiful setup for SSG, and it works out initially.
Surf looking for his opportunity to start aggressing against the upstairs hold. Not actually going to see much of it actively preventing his position. Rampy, more than anything, just trying to wind up this Nitro cell. That's his teammate's drone going by there. I believe it's a Yokai, in fact. But of course, getting spotted by a natural one now is going to force him down to the bottom of the stairs. Surf will definitely want to take that challenge if it's presented to him, so he'll try to creep towards it, but Rampy is already long gone, of course, now inside of Teller's on the first floor.
Already halfway through this round, and it's all been an engagement on the main stairwell that's now being guarded by the Yokai drone of Fultz. As for the rest of Space Station Gaming, currently inside of site, as well as some extended positions out towards Tellers as well as Archives, but that's to be expected. SSG will simply reside in these areas and wait for Beastcoast's arrival. Hot and Cold, speaking of which, will have a drone come to his location, and a suspecting Beast Coast member as well, as Anthony will cut off the flank. All of these spike tracks going down, going to make things a little bit more complicated for Hot and Cold on this clear. Yes, he can shoot them, but that's going to be a lot of info going the way of the offense.
Slash sitting back, just hard locked on this angle right now. Hoping for an overstep from SSG, and he might very well get it, but it's from the wrong position. Skies instead comes in from a side angle. Drip's able to pick up the kill, but it's Fultz to fire back here, evening out the equation so quickly. Yokai drones out for Fultz as well, as he's going to try to gather some more intel from the one he had in the corner, but it's not going to work out too easily. Drip now so low. He cannot reckon himself to swing around the corner. He's just far too low to take any direct challenge. Needs Sweater or potentially Surf to come in and bail him out, but where is that going to come from? Where are they going to try to make their own insertion at Sweater, trying to support Drip's position, and is he going to do that?
Behind them.
Yep. We've got the rotate coming back up from Blue, and Sweater, even worse for him. He's in no position to support it right now. Houghton peeking back out. Doesn't have good vision on this just yet, and he might have swung a bit too far. No, he's going to catch Sweater as well. Not even Drip, the low player. Now it's all on Surf, and he's got the top-down position. His head will immediately get cut off as he tries to go down, and Drip, what the heck can he do here? Nothing much. He doesn't even want to go down. He's just going to save his KD and pick up one more kill as the round ends on timer.
And, I mean, Houghton, he's just wondering what's going on. He's like, hey, you guys think some track stingers are going to stop me? He took such minimal damage, John. Obviously, you're a mid-cast, but he literally got hit by 2 of them the whole time. He just shot himself a nice little path and walked on through them and just got nicked twice. And that's the thing about track stingers. They actually just kind of suck a little bit. So it's just not something that you really want to hang your hat on all the time. You definitely want somebody to sit there and kind of baby them. But Beast Coast didn't have that opportunity because of the man advantage that SSG had at the current moment.
Yeah, we still have Nomad available too, which obviously fulfills a very similar role. And
a better one as well.
Yeah, it's not being picked by Beast Coast at this point, so this is still a stylistic choice from them. They have brought it in for this round also, so I'm curious to see if that's going to stick, or if maybe they realize the failure of it in the previous round and Anthony decides to go for a repick here. But at the moment, it's not looking like it. However, we still have that next 15 seconds or so.
Really, the only big difference in between
the
the two is going to be the soft breach, because you have the Super Shorty for Gridlock as a secondary. If anything, she's got better burn. She's got 3 flashes. She also has the ARX, so technically she's got a better rifle. And the air jabs are way easier to position to where the defense can't actually try and manipulate them unless they have an explosive. So I'd say all in all, she's definitely the better choice. But Yana, speaking of choices, she's a fantastic one as well. A lot of the same things that we just talked about, and frag grenades.
Mainly that gun coming in there, the ARX, is going to be very useful for Anthony in this scenario. So we'll see how that, along with the utility from the frags, will potentially bolster Beast Coast's attack here. Going upstairs again, this is where SSG started the shutdown back on round number 3 and could very well end it here with a 4-round streak to close out the half with a pretty dominant stance against Beast Coast's attack. That's, of course, to be mentioned that Beast Coast are going to be able to go onto their own defensive rounds after this, so maybe there is hope yet for them to potentially rebound. Still, though, seems like the struggles from the previous game yesterday are still well and alive here for Beast Coast, is once again failing to pick up a large majority of rounds on the attacking side. But maybe they can improve that with just this one more going their way. It's back to the slow and measured approach here as you would generally expect. SSG are not really going to have much reason to roam down on the first or bottom floor, so Beast Coast need to be very careful about how they approach this, because SSG has so much freedom to just pop right out from that banana balcony right now and cause problems for the Beast Coast members entering into the lobby.
Absolutely the case, but luckily enough for Beast Coast, this entire mid-floor is clear, so they'll be able to gather a hold of this quite quickly. But as you were talking about before, there's really no reason for SSG to drop down. We could have a potential from Skies for like a late rotation with his hatch being open that could play pretty handedly into what they have going on, but as of right now, it's just wait out and see what Beast Coast want to do with their execution. Where is this setup going to start coming from? That's what SSG is trying to identify right now, and it's all down to the cam work in order to do so. Fult's currently worried about curve or spiral. There's no one really trying to push it just yet. This might be the hologram, and it will be. You won't bait me, Gemini, as it will end up going down, but Anthony now knowing that Fultz is in the laxing position.
So 2 players from Beastcoast just stuck at the bottom of
he's dead.
Spiral, and now they're not because they kill Fultz.
Oh,
Houghton, though, responds with his own piece of utility and knocks out Surf. Surf unfortunately struggling a little bit again today here, too, as he's at 2 and 5 right now. But thankfully, other members of Beastcoast have been stepping up to make up for it, such as we just saw there with a good frag grenade, taking out Fultz, hitting in the elevator corner there, and allowing for Beastcoast to now at least start their ascension up the Spiral staircase. Oh, this is a tough cutoff, though.
Oh, this is going to be so difficult. The 1x, Anthony able to win it out. Fortunately, the ARX will be able to land the shot. Slash will take down Rampy. Now Hot and Cold and Sky. So much heavy lifting in this position. So much time for Beastcoast as well, and the opportunity to get really anything that they want. They can get some extra info. They can start setting up for more of this lobby side attack. There's so many different ways that they can possibly try and manipulate this, and it looks to be the latter. It's going to be the lobby side that they go for. No drones needed. Drip will start the plant. Already halfway through that. No prevent here from anyone as the last 2 members will go down to Anthony. And it'll be a tie here, a 3-3 tie indeed at the half.
Anthony really bringing it into his own there as he absolutely excels with the switch over to the Ana. Faring much better than the previous switch and the gridlock that we were seeing played out for a few rounds in that half. Definitely a good way to end it there with another slow approach to a site. Just catching SSG a little bit too exposed on their own extended game, however slightly that was from the site. And Beastcoast are able to now tie it up at a 3-3 scoreline, chaining together with those 2 very, very interesting rounds they showed us at the beginning of the game.
Well, I will say this, a bang-up job by Space Station Gaming, and especially Lycan for the timeout. I mean, able to shoot up to 3 rounds very quickly after that moment. Lycan always having something fantastic, it seems to say, to Space Station whenever they're in a position like this. That usually ends up either bringing them back from the depths or making it a very hard-fought match at the end of the day. So, always been a highlight of watching Space Station Gaming. As for Beastcoast, though, they fight back from the depths, able to tie things up and keep it 3-3. Can they potentially take this map in regulation on the defensive side?
Keep in mind, of course, in the game versus Xset, this was technically the worst side for Beastcoast. Out of 3 rounds they claimed, only 1 of them was found on the defensive end of things. So this could be a little worrisome if you're a Beastcoast fan, but we'll hold our breath on that and see how exactly these first few rounds play out before we judge into that too harshly. As things get started, though, Sweater trying to go for a window peek here in the inside of CEO, but is not going to be able to find it. There's no one from SSG really spawning on that side, and even if they did, it looks like they've already cut over towards the back quite quickly. Houghton would have been the closest player, but he is well up against the building and out of the POV of Sweater.
Yes, indeed, and it's going to be a whole different swath of operators here for Space Station in comparison to Beastcoast lineup. Bosco will be bringing the Thermite, have the Jackal along for the ride for the Roam Clear here in the skies with the potential secondary hard breach and also some frag grenades for good measure. SSG will begin clearing out this top floor, and Sweater will more than likely be discovered here momentarily as Hot and Cold is the one on that rappel, and he does indeed have the Inox of the Jackal.
Sweater continuing to watch over that window while SSG just kind of hold their rappel positioning. A lot of similar notes being brought out here from SSG that we saw at the end of the half from Beastcoast. But speaking of, Beastcoast is going to be able to strike first here. They catch Houghton. So that's the anti-roam gone before they can even really use it. Fultz with a potential trade here. He's got the read on this player's position. Surf not going to be able to do a thing about it as Fultz waltzers right up and knocks him out.
Well, the good news for Sweater is that he does have Vigil, so this ERC-7 backpack will keep him away from the drums for the time being, but unfortunately enough for him, it's not all of the time. He's going to have to wait for the cooldown, doesn't have much time left, and they're more than likely just going to sit on this drone and wait for his backpack to run out, and when you know it, it did indeed. They know exactly where he is, and they know where he could potentially go, but what's the move here for Sweater? He won the initial gunfight, but now he's getting tagged up through walls and everything in between. Challenging back and forth, he'll find one inside of Conference, but not able to land the shots. Can he get it on Checkers, though? No, it's Skies instead to take him down, but a great time waste, as he'll be able to take down Hot and Cold and take away a minute and 30 seconds.
See, one drone being picked off. Unfortunately, Beastcoast not doing the best job of draining out the drone count. They've brought it down to 6, but that's still very easily workable for SSG considering they have 4 players alive at this point. So not too much.
They actually only have 4 because Hot and Cold's dead with all of his drones in his pocket.
All right, well, excuse me then. Sorry.
My bad.
Yeah, I wasn't doing the quick read on the player
man.
ones.
My bad.
But yeah, either way, still 4 drones should be workable enough here. So I'll correct myself. Beastcoast actually have done a pretty decent job of bleeding it down, mainly through the elimination of Houghton. Away from that, though, Drip is still... Yeah, we went to this earlier. We didn't get to talk about it, but Drip hiding in plain sight! But it's going to get caught by Rampy as he, unfortunately for Drip, is ready for a very, very unorthodox play like that. And it's going to bring Beastcoast numbers down to only 2 now.
Oh, man. That is so much pain.
You got to hurt for him here.
Yeah, you got to hurt for him.
Oh, come on!
There, too. Rampy just destroys him off the swing. And in a 4 versus 1, the case has to go down. Anthony, do you have the clutch in you? Do the clutch genes work? Well, we're about to find out. He's got 1 smoke to try and assist resist
Oh,
himself,
man,
and he's going
this
to miss
isn't
the
the
first
round.
shots. And now all the frag grenades, the bullets, and, well, everything except the kitchen sink comes to this man inside of the red hallway, and the frag grenade will deliver the killing blow.
I just wasn't Beastcoast round, no matter which way you put it there.
Yeah.
Someone brought out the voodoo doll for that one with the way that they were playing there. We had like 3 plays that they could have easily lined up and clutched, and just no one could hit the shot apparently. Like, just really unlucky round for Beastcoast at the end of the day.
Yeah, I feel like you just have Lycan in the back there with just a voodoo doll. He just keeps stabbing it every single time that Beast Coast
No drip.
could potentially do something. Exactly. Dude, the drip situation was the worst one because
Yeah, they had no idea
Drip-
to sit under the desk.
Drip, the guy just sledged the wall. Why are you looking at the guy that's running into sight when you can kill the sledge player?
Drip was in the middle of like that awkward scene in every like buddy comedy movie where like
Yeah.
someone's like hiding under the desk trying to not get noticed, like
Yeah.
when they're stealing something from the dude's office. Like that was what just went on there. Like, except Drip got caught. Like,
Yeah, Drip really is one of the other guys for sure in that situation. It's just super, super unfortunate. But for Space Station Gaming, count your lucky stars back in the lead, 4-3 here as this offense is quickly coming together. And past that, John, we have a very special round ahead of us, my friend. Round 8 is going to have not only Monty on hot and cold, but Skies is also bringing the Oso. This is the most shield play I've seen out of any offensive lineup this stage.
we've already seen, of course, for this type of attack, just how much this can bolster yourself. So SSG, of course, taking control of things in the previous round. They're going to look to continue that excellence with another host of utility that will hopefully allow them to get easier access to the site this time. A couple preset nitros, at least one coming out there from Drip as well to catch the early access point that they're going to attempt to gain inside of top square. But for the most part, this has been read into by a few teams, so we'll see if that's going to be the case. But okay. Bye-bye Finka. Sweater finds a very nice opening shot, I think, coming in through dirt, maybe? Because he's on the stairs right now.
Nah, there's no
Or it had to be like
way.
electrical
Yeah.
entry or something. But either way, here comes the Montaigne bulling himself out through dirt. Slash is the one getting in the way of this. He is going to get hit by his own Gershmot, but that's not too big of a deal, as obviously he hit hot and cold as well, so he's been forced back. A Toxic Babe is also coming to support this position and give our Ella the room it needs to fight.
Interesting that Fultz goes down in such a fashion, but
That had to be
either
like the
way.
electrical push.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll figure it out later on, but there's no way that it was the server push because Houghton should be the first one in because, well, he's Monty. So if it was the other way, I'd be like, Lycan, we gotta talk about something here. But for Space Station, there's still a lot to do, but I mean, they have the potential to get it done. That's the biggest thing. They still have Bosco alive. They have both of their shielders, and past that, one of their shielders actually has a gun. That's the big thing here. It's gonna be an easy roam clear as they try to get around the Monty, but not doable for Serve. Rampy also waiting in the wings as he'll pick up that frag.
So fully spotted out an X-ray there, it seems, so he's not going to be able to get a chance to fight inside of that situation, fully clearing out the open area. Members of SSG should now be clear to make their descent, as there's not really much else Beast Coast presence going to be here on the first or second floor. We are seeing them held up a little bit here, as they do have hard breach capability, but all these hatches are reinforced at the moment, so that's slowing them down a tad, as they only have the 2 on Bosco. Doesn't look like they have any secondary can openers to be able to bring to the table, so they've got to pick and choose where exactly to use those, and at the moment, they're not really feeling potentially throwing one of them at the hatch. Sweater as well will have a little bit of security as a result of that. He swings in here, tries to see if anyone is waiting for the hatch drop, but is not going to be the case this time around, as now we see that opened up, and Sweater will begin to watch over it here. Tries to go for a little impact toss as well. Someone was going to be waiting on top, but once again, not the case here. Houghton, though, gets taken out. So many surprise kills from Beast Coast. Where are they finding these positions? As Slash is able to get himself another one, catching Houghton. That's going to be the Montaigne going down somewhere near the stairs.
Yeah, perfect moment here for Beast Coast and potentially round 8 now in the bag. But SSG still with an opportunity here, although the main stairwell will be locked down from the EVA 12 of Slash, repositioning himself perfectly after that initial frag or initial back and forth exchange inside of Server that eventually gets him the frag onto Hot and Cold over on the main stairwell. For SSG, though, they have to throw it at the site in the hope that it sticks. So exothermic charge, one of the reinforcements here is actually, no, I believe Bosco's out of both of them. I saw him motion for the wall there for just a split second, but he's not going to have that option available. Rampy's going to have to drop in the back end, but he's already been discovered here. Sweater will go down. Rampy will win out an initial gunfight here, but the only other option is Skies to get something done now, pushing into the site. Rampy tries to get some more, but nobody has the case, and Beast Coast will pick up the round.
There's too little too late, unfortunately, there, as the members of SSG struggling in order to find their proper route to transition down into the basement. The roam clear was fine. They took care of that with relative ease and left themselves about a minute or so in order to make the proper descent into the basement, but just could not get the Montaigne in proper position. When they finally were ready to go for it, Slash with a shotgun, there to shut it down,
Yet
just
again.
as we saw at the beginning of the round as well.
Yeah, and for Beastcoast, that was just a beauty right there. That was a pearl for sure. Especially looking at the opener there and the way that they're able to take down Fultz so very early on. I mean, he is the crux of the entire offense. You're playing the most important operator. So it's very difficult when you lose out Finka initially, especially when you have to try and play through all of the utility that Beastcoast had. It just makes things overall quite difficult. And, well, yet again, Beastcoast able to pick up around off of the back of those efforts.
So things looking good for Beastcoast to hold on in terms of who's winning this game. Well, that's a factor we actually don't really know at this point here. Teams
Super
are,
competitive.
Yeah, continuing to go back and forth, and even just inside the round, we don't have a great idea of who's going to control it there because things are so teeter-tottery on a second-to-second basis. SSG will have a few repicks to bring out here, but they're largely inconsequential, just moving their anti-roam over towards a Thatcher, and then, of course, the Thermite coming in for Bosco.
Honestly, I'm happy that we finally gotten an interesting game. It's actually exciting.
Yep.
There's something to talk about here. I feel like the games you and I have gotten for the last 2 weeks have practically all been snooze fest, except for a couple of them. But now, tied 4-4, Beastcoast and SSG, something I didn't think I was going to say today when we were coming to Bank, but yet here it is, and Beastcoast has been able to stand tall on their defensive end.
Beastcoast still looking to pick up a little bit. Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Surf so close to a lineup here, but not going to be able to find it this early on. A player above him, too, so he was under threat just as much as he had a threat on one of the members of SSG's lives. There's another rappel going down there, and man, Surf, you can't test fate that much with so many members of SSG sitting around here. They're going to catch him on the second window break. That'll take him down. That'll be a free opening kill. But look at this from Sweater. He's got the counter to it as they've left the wall soft upstairs.
They had
so
a
he's able
drone
to
there.
pierce through it, takes out Rampy, and the drone didn't seem to matter much as Sweater must have only recently taken up that position, catches the trade, and brings us back down into a 4v4.
Oh, the timing for Space Station just doesn't work out, and now Sweater, he's going to continue to be able to maintain this top floor advantage. Obviously lacking Surf, but if he's able to delay more time and potentially get another pick, I mean, it's going to be great
Oh
for
my
them,
goodness.
and Sweater will get it. Fultz goes down. Not only have they lost Fultz, but Rampy's gone as well. Space Station, it's starting to slip away from them. Could Beastcoast start to pull ahead on Bank?
Sweater being allowed to do far too much inside of this specific round here, absolutely stunting any progression from SSG as they try to make their way down to the first floor and assault the open area. They've lost so much. They do still have the hard breach, but he's a little busy right now. Skies haven't opened up castle barricades on the other side, is not available to try to pop these hatches open and give access to the site on any of the members of SSG. So they'll continue to have to struggle in that respect until they can line up a proper execute for themselves. No sledge either, so no other easy way to knock out those barricades here. The ones that are up and that Skies cannot get access to are going to stay up for the rest of this round, as there is no utility, let alone time, for SSG to try to open those here as we're coming down to the last 50 seconds of play.
Well, the great news for the Space Station camp is not only they have Bosco with the Selmas, but they also have the EMPs from Hodden, so this is going to be a fairly straightforward affair. But speaking of straightforward, Drip's attack should be pretty straightforward to the back end of these players. I believe he ends up tagging maybe one of his players there, but not really the case, as
Great distraction more than
for
anything.
Slash is going to be able to at least push up here. Bosco will be able to find one, but it's immediately traded out by Drip. It's going to be all down to Skies, currently over inside of Tellers, with the case down in the bottom of Square. Not a lot of opportunities for him to try and pressure the site either, especially with these Banshees in place like they are currently. Stuns out here, but not really too much to write home about at the current moment. Still going to have Drip
can't even
in
get out.
position for Blue, and as you said, there's really no opportunity for him to try and evacuate this location.
He can't even get the case back, unfortunately, as those castle barricades are still there. So the time will run out as he is finally taken out, trying to sneak in from the small office. And it's going to be a beautiful hole, mainly boosted by that early prowess from Sweater being shown upstairs, where he's able to get away with 2 kills and then escape with pretty much no consequences down to the first floor. That kind of sets up the beginning of the end. And the Drip situation, when he goes for the late rotate up Blue, really just seals the deal for the members of Beastcoast on that round.
Yeah, absolutely. And that also begs the question, how many teams are going to let this happen? Because it happens every single time that I have watched Bank so far this stage. Somebody is allowed to rotate up Blue late and kill somebody that's either planting or somebody that's trying to get a wall open in the bottom of Square. And everybody's tried different avenues in order to stop this from happening. Beast Coast tried it with some track stingers. As for SSG, they really didn't allocate anything to it, not even a drone in that area. Drip gets through scot-free and ends up ending the round for Space Station.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because it's like, very easy for the defenders to get access to it too. So unless the attackers have like cut off main stairs and they're maybe thinking like, we should be good, like even if this one side falls. I mean, like even then, I'm thinking about it more and more to myself now. Like you still have the hatches to consider as a rotate route too. So
your only option is air jab the bottom of blue stairs up in the corner and hope that the roamer doesn't.
I mean, again, Nomad is not banned.
Yeah.
So that's a very valid option for both teams here. Yet neither has tried to really use it yet.
And you know that could also go back to just the lineup and what they like to have as tools overall for the map. I mean, they're not too worried about the flank, even though it has been something that's bitten both of them in the butt. But I mean, it is what it is. You know, at the end of the day, Spacestation and you know every other team should have strong enough comms to be able to cover a flank. I mean, for God's sakes, you're a professional team. So for Beastcoast now, be checking things out on the top floor will be Sweater. This time around, not nearly as strong of a gun, but the ump does have the 1.5 when it comes to Castle.
All right, let's see here how SSG is going to try to proceed. Early round has vexed them a little bit so far over the past two, with Beastcoast able to poke and prod with a good amount of aggression in order to stop most of the advances from SSG. Going to be a little different this time, though, as there's not a whole lot of extension to be brought out overall from Beastcoast. What is there is going to be horizontal, just played on the same floor here. We can already see SSG still, despite that fact, being incredibly cautious with their own clear. It does look like they're really going to try to weaken Surf's position here, though, knocking out his utility pieces, even using two of the Selmas on it as well. Surf has got to be so careful as he's pretty much locked in this elevator now and has to try and either make a mad dash to survive or look for some other route of retreat. He knows the elevator drop is probably not going to be too viable here either. He should have another impact to potentially use under him, but like I said, more than likely not the path to victory for him, so he just chucks out the second one to clean up the soft breach a little bit here and maybe wait for someone on SSG to overpeak just a tad where he can at least get a 1-for-1.
Honestly, the impacts aren't helping him too much in that situation. I believe they ended up getting both breaks on that wall there. So if anything, he's just like limiting the lower part of that angle, but they can still see you all the way down the hallway. So it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. Volts is going to end up popping things underneath. Surf, he does have an opportunity here to lay under this reinforcement. So actually the impact having a little bit more onto the story than I initially thought.
Really
love the drone though, and that's the thing about Space Station Gaming. The drones that are working out, but do they know that this man's lane here? I see the yellow ping, the Monty. He'll be able to find him. Surf, no impacts to be able to try and do anything to this position currently. Sweater, though, will fight back as he takes down Rampy. Slash will take down Foltz, and this is quickly becoming one-dimensional for Space Station Gaming.
Yeah, Space Station just tunnel visioning almost onto Surf's position by the elevator, not paying mind to any additional movements Beastcoast might have gone for. This could potentially end the round for them, and Surf seems to think that. He's like, all right, I've done my job. I even got out of here somehow and made it back to the site, so massive props to Surf for that play right there. He's been struggling inside of this game, but even though he didn't pick up any kills in that specific situation, he set his team up for so much success there. Massive props to him. And meanwhile, Sweater's just going off. He's got 3 kills in this round. Bosco, what exactly are you going to try to do? It's a 1v5, not a single point of damage has been done to anybody on the other team. Gets a little bit off there, but it's a flawless round for Beastcoast as they're going to go up on map and match point.
Sweater is just getting athletic in these rounds. This is, I mean, very aquatic gameplay, as we were talking about in the green room earlier. He's looking insane, and that's the big thing. That round right there is a perfect highlight for somebody like Sweater because you're not exactly using a crutch gun. All you have is a 1.5 sight and an ump that has a terrible rate of fire in a game where rate of fire is king. So, I mean, what a round from him. He shuts down SSG's entire take when it comes to the square side, and it just leads Space Station Gaming awry. There's not really anything they can do with the banana position past that point. Bosco tries to send it up main stairs, and it doesn't matter in the slightest. I mean, look at this score line for Sweater at the current moment. 15-4-2. I don't even know what that rating would be. I mean, it's got to be above a 2.0.
It's really been unleashed inside of the second half and has been a massive proponent to allowing Beastcoast to push themselves into the lead they have now. And now it's only one more round separating them from outright victory. Meanwhile, we've got SSG going for a couple change-ups here, mainly stylistic, as they're going to go away from the Thatcher play on Hot and Cold, just back over to the Jackal. This is stuff we've actually already seen just in the reverse order earlier on in the half. And their secondary hard breach, currently played by Skies, is also going to switch to a Maverick from a Habana, so a pretty minor change there.
Yes, indeed. And now Space Station Gaming out of the gates for potentially their last round on Bank unless they can do something about this defensive setup. Beastcoast are going to be on an extended hold as of right now. The hatches in open area will be broken. Drip adding some cameras inside of that open area as well. So we'll have some utility around this top floor as well for Beastcoast to play around and try and limit SSG's clear. We'll see if things break down the same way that they did the last time, especially with Hot and Cold in very similar position.
It's going to go very quiet on the map here as SSG, once again, just like last round, trying to play this oh so carefully. Just inching their way forward, moving up bit by bit here to try and make sure they don't miss anything, as that's happened quite a few times in this half. Beastcoast has been a very, very sneaky defensive-sided team so far here, throwing so many wrenches at SSG when they don't expect them to even be there. That stops so many of these attacks, so SSG do not want that to happen again. They've been oh so careful with this lobby clear. Finally succeeding in doing it, and now getting stocks access as well here. Slowly starting to crunch on the Beastcoast position, but the first floor still needs to be cleared out as well, I do believe, with potentially 1 or 2 players being there. It does not seem Beastcoast are too keen on extending this fight out from the site itself, though, as they know that SSG is giving them quite a bit of respect at this point, considering the plays they've been able to make in the past few rounds, and I think they're going to abuse that a little bit by finally pulling back on the aggression a tad.
SSG are stuck to the drones as of right now. Bosco already losing both of his, but still have the potential to try and find some of these harder to reach characters from BC. Sweater's going to drop back down the hatch. Great position for him, but now Surf's been taken down yet again. 2 and 9. It just has not been his week. Sweater will play around the hatch as of right now, but Spacestation have gathered full control, and they'll have the ability to get the hatches open and start looking for their execute.
Time continues to tick down with a little over a minute to go, and breach is now finally being made by the members of SSG to get themselves into the basement finally. You can see Anthony as well set up quite interestingly down there, in fact, to be able to use the incendiaries and slow down the play from his opponents. Speaking of which, that play is about to explode out into the server room in just a second here, as they'll take free control of that. The walls have been reinforced, so the hard breach is also going to come in without too much of an issue. Anthony pretty much immediately starting to chuck in the incendiaries, though, as soon as that breach is made. He doesn't want to take any chances on a sneak plant coming out here. Sweater's watching the hatches a little bit too closely, though, as that nade nearly gets him, about 1/3 of his HP being stolen away as a result of that. With 30 seconds to go, they're going to need to throw the second one in quickly, but the timing for Sweater just doesn't work out. He gets caught by Skies. Drip, in the meanwhile, is primed and ready to chuck this nade in, and he might as well do it here. 2 members in the site. The plant attempt going down. There might be too much audio noise for them to even hear it. The Nitro's out. It's not actually going to grab the planter, but it did get him off, and another player was taken down instead. Drip tries to push to kill the planter, but he's going to be denied by Bosco, and now they've got a line of smoke to fend this off. Rampy's got the cross as well, and the drop to finish it off. Beautifully played by SSG as they take the basement attack.
Last second decision making from Space Station, an awkward plant spot, and that's all you need to get the round over on Beastcoast. Did you see how hard Drip tried to prevent that plant from going down?
Yeah.
He runs all the way into red, chucks the nitro cell, even jumps into the actual server room and tries to get something done, but he simply cannot. SSG and actually Skies, or rather, I actually can't remember who was planted in that position. It was Skies on the Overwatch on the top hatch, but either way, I believe it was Bosco actually. And immediately hops off of the plant and then takes out Drip as he tries to push through CCTV. So now for Beastcoast, they have to try and stave off overtime. They want all 3 of these points, folks. They want the whole kit and caboodle. If we go to OT, they're automatically going to lose 1 point to SSG if they still end up winning.
Success will not be found from Beastcoast on that basement hold. Maybe things will change up on their open area play. This is where we were able to see a lot more shenanigans from Beastcoast because of the freedom of rotation they had when compared to their last play, just 1 round back on the basement, where they tried to keep it pretty much entirely stuck in the basement itself, but did not seem to have enough capability to throw that pressure back at SSG when they were finally ready to execute there. The smoke play just worked out too well, along with the control over the hatches. And that allows for SSG to pick up their own 5th round here. The comeback is strong from Beastcoast, but it might not be strong enough to get outright victory just yet. Let's see if they can claim this one final round, or if indeed we'll end up in overtime, where the point totals will be reduced from this game that Stokes was just mentioning.
Okay, well, what's the change up for Space Station? So far, it'll be hot and cold to the IQ to come in and counter out Slash's Valkyrie. We saw Drip playing on this quite a bit throughout the rounds, but as of right now, he's on Castle. This setup mostly to extend out this mid-floor and make things playable inside of Archives as well as Tellers. They'll have some top floor setup as well, as Surf will be occupying main stairs for the time being, but past that, he's got Sweater down low that could possibly shut down SSG's clear if they try and go for something similar to what we saw from Beastcoast minus the Gara hook.
A little over a third of the round, a little under, excuse me, a third of the round having been played out. So still very early days as far as SSG's roam clear is concerned here. Beastcoast, and notably Drip, is going to put himself right in the center of this action over towards Tellers, but it's going to be Slash that steals the highlight here as he gets the opening kill with a Nitro against Rampy, knocking out the Sledge. So more than likely a top-down kill coming out from them that will prevent all these angles from being opened up, though, and it will also slow down the clear to some extent over in Tellers as well, because they can't open those angles to top-down as easily as they previously could.
Worse for wear at the moment, but definitely still doable. Fultz in prime position to put a dagger in this round if he can. Gonna drone forward a little bit more, make sure that Archives is cleared out, but Slash, he's got the long angle here. Hopefully Fultz checks this, otherwise this could be another SSG body going to the wayside. Drone through, believe he saw that hole, so has a potential to try and take a fight with it, but now the top hatch has been busted. Slash will send some shots, but nothing connecting for the time being.
A little over a minute to go. We've got Houghton is going to soft breach open his access point to open area from Electrical. And away from that, both teams just too timid to take a fight against each other right now. Slash doesn't want to swing this angle against his opponent on the other side. Houghton as well, keeping eyes on the breach just in case anything crazy happens with Slash's position here. So far not able to get a good leash on it just yet, but Slash giving an opportunity and a second one as well. A misstep from Houghton Cold is going to cost him his life as well as the overall electrical cutoff from the side of SSG. Slash will be fairly secured in this position now. Even if they swing him, he's got them. And now he's going to try to go for the kill, but no, he oversteps as well. Only about half the HP being knocked off of Fultz. Bosco being brought down low also, however, so these two players have to be careful. This is a very similar situation where now relying on the third angle to push in for them because of the low HP. With that said, Bosco picks up the next frag. The blue rotate has been cut off by a smoke. You can see it. They're trapped in there right now. They might have identified the two different guns as well and already be reading into that, but Drip, he swings out, gets the first. Sweater baits Drip's dead body to get the second. It works out though, and now Fultz is alone where he'll confirm Drip, but at the same time, he's now sandwiched. He's only got a few players in between him and he has no time left. He'll go down and Beastcoast win the match.
Congratulations to Beastcoast, not only for taking Space Station to bank and looking damn good, but taking the dub in regulation. That is not something that I expected in the slightest, but Sweater especially. I mean, man, it is sweater weather today, let me tell you. This guy is so dynamic in his playstyle. His roam game is just deadly. Space Station, a team that is known for their drone game, couldn't do anything up against him. 15 plus kills inside of this game, all inside of regulation. I mean, have a day, my friend.
Yeah, the micro control of the moment-to-moment action in the round is what really separated Beastcoast from SSG for me. Their ability to make plays, even ones that became fairly predictable towards the end of it. I mean, we saw that smoke play going into the inside of blue. They finally read into that late rotate that had been happening for Drip. So what does Beastcoast do? Oh, we're just doing it with two people. They're not going to expect that, and they didn't, unfortunately. So it once again catches SSG with their pants down one final time there to seal the deal on that last round. And that's just one example of the types of things we were seeing from Beastcoast over the course of this game to try and trick up the SSG roster, and it pretty much worked every time.
Yeah, I mean, nobody expects the Blue Stairs Inquisition. That's really what it is at the end of the day, especially when you have so many bodies stacked in there. We talked about it earlier. That rotation has been happening time and time again, every single time that we watch Bank, but that's the first time that we've seen it with two people there. But either way, folks, congratulations to Beastcoast once again for that victory up against Space Station Gaming. But that's going to do it for John and I initially here. We'll be back for the next matchup, but we're going to send you guys to a quick commercial break. We'll be back with the Analyst Desk.
Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you try. Pull you down.
Attackers are activated.
He's my mind all the time. He's my mind. I know that you dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I might rent the Lambo and go drive it like it's stolen. I've been living wild, I'm just going through the motions. Stumbling out the Uber, grab my hand, gave me a notion. Swimming in your water, but it feels just like the ocean. I've been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind. Close to you, close to you, close to you. Close to you, close to you, close to you, close to you. Close to you, close to you, close to you. Close to you, close to you. You think you know me? Say I'm as cold-hearted as they come. You think I'm slowly cutting my ties with you, that I'm done. Here's what you don't know. Feelings, they grow slow. I've just been caring for mine. Now I can feel it. Now I believe it. Baby, tonight
Took a couple of games to get there, but we finally did. An upset is on our hands. Spacestation have been knocked down a peg for this week, and Beastcoast come out of this week claiming 3 points, kind of out of the blue on a map that we didn't know they were going to win on. But let's talk to Drip over in Vegas to figure out exactly how this one went down. Brother, congratulations on the victory. We saw you like hopping and skipping and stuff, and like post-victory. How happy are you that you were able to get this dub?
I was pretty pumped because yesterday, you know, I was sick. That's the only reason XZ won, because I personally would never lose to Gomez if I was healthy. But I came back today. I was feeling good, and we knew we're good at bank, and the results speak for themselves. It was 7-5. It should have been a little closer. But I mean, yeah, I was jumping, and I was having a field day. It's always fun beating Skies. Not that hard though, but it's always fun.
Drip, I want to talk to you a little bit. We've talked to some other teams about you guys, and you've been referred to maybe as meatheads in the past. I think you guys actually have some pretty cool strategies. I want to talk a little bit about who kind of comes up with those. What's the brain of your team? Because you've got a really good support staff coming in of Mark, Rams, and Crux. Then you've got you've got Slash. How do these ideas come together for Beastcoast?
We just have creative players and creative coaches and staff. You know, I've had a lot of check stealer coaches and staff in the past, but Mark and Rams and Crux work really hard, and they've changed my opinion on what a siege coach and what they should do. And Rams, Mark do great counter stratting, and Crux does good analytical work, and we put in a lot of work and VOD review, and we knew today we just had to play some ranked. You can't get over analytical against SSG, but I mean, I think our strategy paid off. We won and they lost, so I mean, it's just another day for Drip Bullen, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really fair. So, in specific, going to the map choice of bank, was there something in SSG's bank? Because, they've been successful on this map against multiple teams earlier on in the season, or did it just kind of happen to go that way?
I think SSG's only played bank once this stage so far, and that was against Mirage, which that doesn't count as a team. So that's just a dry run with resistance. So we weren't too worried about them. We knew yesterday, the game wasn't casted yesterday due to the things in New York, but if you watched our game, we should have won 7-3. We threw. I wasn't feeling well. I guess God is an XZ fan, right? Because I just was the whole game, and I was down, but I'm like, I'm back today. I'm ready to play some bank. I don't care who we're playing. We know we're good on bank. They won their world title on bank, but that was 5 years ago. It's past that time. It doesn't matter.
You are just you're right below them as of right now in the standings, only by 1 point. They're in fourth, you guys are in fifth. You're still looking for that way to creep up into said top four, and you've still got a plethora of opponents ahead for these next couple of games to do that. If you're going to make the major, it's going to require a lot of those games won. So what's your plan, mentally, strategically for these next couple of games to accomplish that goal?
I mean, we're just going to take it one game at a time. Next game, we have TSM. TSM's a team, if you follow me on Twitter, you know that, as much as I crap talk and bring down other teams, in my opinion, they're one team, they could be 0-5 million. I still think they're one of the best teams in the region, so we're going to go into that game hard. But we're just going to try to win. We have Mirage and Astralis after that, but we're taking, even Mirage, as bad as they are, you got to go in, you got to respect your enemies. I know it's weird for me to say that, but even if you look over and see Thomas on the other team, you know it's Thomas, it should be a free win, but you got to make sure. So you got to go in with you got to go in hard. Astralis doesn't have Retro anymore, so they're actually a hard team to play now, and you just got to go in every game, fresh mindset. It's 1st to 7, and you just got to play like that. It's a 45-minute game. You got to go hard in those 45.
No, you're not wrong. Keep on staying true to the brand, man. Again, congratulations on the win. This one's certainly a statement. 3 games left. Seeing if that top 4 is something you guys can crack into and get a little bit of international competition under your belts. But like you mentioned, job's not done. Enjoy this one. We'll see you next week.
Job's not done. Thank you.
All right. So, I knew one upset was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen, and obviously the interview was great. But, what, thoughts?
Yeah, this was a huge shock to all of us. Maybe Drip was confident in his bank. I was not. I saw them play the other day, and I didn't think that they had it in them to beat SSG, who have played bank not once but twice. In the first week, they did beat Mirage. They also beat XZ way back in week number 1. So, yeah, big upset. They proved us all wrong for sure.
Yeah, and that is one direct example of why the transitive property does not work.
There you go.
Look, you have the wonderful bit of SSG beating XZ on bank, XZ then beating Beastcoast on bank, but then it becomes rock, paper, scissors. And look at these stats. Beastcoast beat SSG on bank.
Yeah, and Sweater, God, he just does it better, doesn't he? 17-5, 4-1 opening kills. This is the type of stat record that will get you MVP towards the end of the day, assuming nobody else pops up there. Really big performance.
I'm not sure anyone really deserves it more than him at this point, yeah.
I would say not yet. I mean, we'll see what the end of the day brings, but Sweater certainly having a monstrous performance in the kill department.
I mean, the philosophy is he needed to be either let off the leash a little bit, or the philosophy of the team needed to be don't go super strategic, and that's kind of what they did. He meant, like Drip mentioned in the interview, play more ranked. Don't worry about trying to strategize against a team that's always going to prioritize around something like that. And we called Sweater out for being a phenomenal roamer. He's in those initial engagements on defense. He's playing Malusi or Ella or somebody who's always going to get in those initial gunfights, and it seemed like it was working here.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things is look at Rampy and Foltz. When was the last time their combined entry was negative? That was -3.
True.
That is a daunting task to go up against both of those players, and Sweater came out on top, and that has to be a huge reason why we got the scoreline we did.
Well, let's go ahead and check some replays out real quick. Specifically, something for SSG, for all the SSG fans, very briefly before we jump over to something positive that Beastcoast themselves did. Round 4. A 1v2 situation for Hot and Cold, a round they did not expect to win. This was in the midst post-tac timeout for SSG, looking like they might be able to bring something back here.
Yeah, and for the side of Beastcoast, they started off looking real good, real sharp. Then we got a tactical timeout, and all of a sudden, it's kind of almost felt like the same thing. It's a 2v1 situation with the coverage of Hot and Cold, not on a whole lot of HP, and he still wins it, and guess why he won that?
Why do you win that?
He dropped the ego. He is not using the Roni. He had the Commando, so he had enough bullets to take on 2 people at once.
Look, that gun is severely underrated. We might have skins. I mean, we have skins coming out for those. We just had the BDS one drop with this wave. I think we had 2. Yeah. What was the other one that dropped? It was BDS and one more from this recent set. I'm trying to remember who it was.
You've lost me. I don't know. I just rocked you.
Cyclops had one like beforehand. I knew that. I don't know. I'll figure it out. One was from Aruni. The other one was from Mozzie. I can't.
The G2 Aruni?
Oh, it was the G2 one. Yep.
That would make sense.
He's got it. So, but the Commando still use that thing because only one operator's got it and 2 people have the Roni, so you might as well switch things up a little bit. But on the flip side of things, Beastcoast, the guys that actually won this bad boy. Jesse, is it walk time?
I think it's walk time, Jacob. Let me walk you over to the Telestration station where we can talk a little bit about something that they managed to pull off here. And I want to talk about Surf because Surf as a player, hold on, I just get a little ready here. All right, Surf as a player didn't have the greatest stats this game, but I still felt like he was having a huge impact. So what I want to highlight here is round number 10. And to start things off, I just want to showcase kind of where we're at in the round. This push from SSG is coming from the lobby. It's not going to be an arrow, but the push is coming from the lobby nonetheless. One thing we've seen is Surf has moved into the elevator position, was originally playing where you expect the Wamai to be, over by the elevator, but he transitioned over. And what we're seeing as well is that it's going to be the primary objective from SSG. Now, they've already used a couple nades. You can see 2 gone from Fault. One was used to get the wall open, to get the mute jammer off of it. The other caught by one of Surf's magnets coming through there. So I'm going to clear this off. I'm going to press play on our screen here, if we can get this going. There we are, and as we can see, Surf's gonna have so much thrown at him, but he's always gonna be successful. So they're gonna try to move some players down below. You see Fault's beneath. He's got a Gone 6, so he's still gonna have the ability to open up that hatch. Also impacts being utilized by Surf. He's used them both, so he can no longer drop that hatch. Hot and Cold stalled on the stairs. You see it right there because of the Toxic Babes. Then we see Faults open the hatch. That forces Surf to move a little bit aggressive, and at this point, he needs to try to get out. He wants to survive because there will be an SSG push coming towards him, but unfortunately for SSG, he's sticking around. A couple more of these Toxic Babes not going his way. We see Fault from the bottom of the stairs. Hot and Cold's up, staring at Surf, but he can't go through because of those Toxic Babes. So now Surf is having a problem. Sweater's taking this initiative to start getting some kills. There's one, a couple more coming through from Slash, and then Surf, in an incredibly bold move, as our camera goes above, he's gonna completely escape, get all the way back to site, and just get out for free. Look at that timer on the clock, 35 seconds left alive as we finish this highlight. Ridiculous that he was able to deny so much time in that play, and that's one of those rounds that I think, although we didn't get any kills from, he wasted so much time and provided so much utility to the rest of his team.
Well, that's it for Beastcoast. I feel like even in games where Surf, for some reason, don't take the glasses off.
But there's the Telestration glasses.
Just sassy. That's all I'm saying.
Sometimes you need a little sass.
You really got to give it to me like that, huh? Jeez. Even in moments where Surf, for some reason, doesn't have a ton of kills, which is the thing he's been renowned for. He's on vertical, he's on sledge play. Nice that he's still able to put on performances like this.
Yeah.
He was touted as being super mechanically skilled. That's the thing that Drip said literally in the first interview that we had of this stage, and he just continues to show it, so it's fantastic for him. Gentlemen, final thoughts on this one. Beastcoast really beginning to catch up to Spacestation now at this point, only 1 point behind those guys in terms of the number 4 seed. Suddenly, Xset just jumped up into second place, and they might be staying there if Astralis lose.
That is very, very scary, because this is not necessarily scary. I would almost say it's exciting, because the entire NAL has been shifted upside down and tossed around and spun in a circle. Nobody knows what's going to happen. This middle class that we've almost created, it's just any team can beat any given team. You have 2nd through 8th place. It's just boom, always a surprise.
Anything can happen in the NAL,
He's
and
being
not
paid
even
to
the
say that
coin
slogan.
knows. I'm being paid to say everything I say in this broadcast, Jacob. That's
True.
my job.
True.
Not even the coin knows what's going down in the NAL. We've got a very exciting league here that continues to surprise us.
And we will continue on with this Playday right after a very quick break, because coming up next, Astralis against TSM. And we didn't think this match was going to have these stakes, but TSM fighting for their life. Astralis might have a major berth. Back